boys' night. Let's start it. No women here to keep us under control. It's me. It's me, Kofuzi, Matt Chittim, and Peter Bromka. And we're here for this week's edition of Relay. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. And we're doing it on a Tuesday rather than a regular Monday. And I'd like to say is so that way we could have my opinion on the show today, because I went to some fun events since the last time I saw you guys. I was at both TRE and I ran in Valencia.
Wild.
So that was quite a week for me. And there's been a lot of other running action. CIM was huge this weekend. I'm sure Matt and Peter can tell us more about that. I can't wait to hear from them because, man, I had turned like kind of off the phone so I would miss it. But now like I'm super excited for all the CIM coverage.
Yeah, we just need running to be like this every weekend. You start with some like light TRE build up, like some industry geekery, and then you go to BU indoor where people just torch just times that you're like, these numbers don't mean anything to me, they're so fast. And then you go to a variety of cross country, and then for those of us on the West Coast, particularly who weren't racing CIM, Valencia started kind of like rolling in a little bit, and then we wake up and have one of the fastest marathons of all time in America. So
to say nothing of the fact we also had the Western States lottery and the HardRock lottery. Is Saturday, is this weekend across all genres of running?
That's true.
The craziest weekend of running in the calendar. I'm trying to think like between college, road, cross country, track, and trail, everything was hitting.
It's kind of that weird time of year where like all your sports are still, some of them
and
are
high school even. We had NXN.
Yeah, some of them are in postseason, but like you get to watch all your sports like at the same time. It's kind of what we got going on in the running world.
I'm in the back of an Uber with Matt and Lindsay, and I'm like, uh-oh, guys, Jane Hendrigan's going to be a problem. And they're like, is she all right? And I'm like, oh dear. And I like couldn't even get myself to say 14:44, closing in a 63. The future is now. Like, this is going to be fascinating. So that was, spoiler alert, that was the highlight from BU on Friday. But also people have highlighted her composure, both the fact that she went out at like 15-minute pace and finished 15 seconds faster, 16 seconds faster. So that's a fun way to run a 5K. Then to set a record, and then maybe my favorite, Mario Frioli highlighted this on his newsletter today, that someone was interviewing her after and said like, so did you do workouts that like indicated you were ready for this? And she's like, we don't talk about workouts. It's like,
Right.
Which I'm like, hey,
she should have done the Kurt Signetti from Indiana. Big weekend for Indiana University football. I'll just say should have done the Kurt Signetti. Do you remember what he said at his press conference when he was hired?
Google me.
I just win. Google me.
Guy's the least happy person who's being successful of anyone I've ever met, but okay, I've not met him. Mike, when did you land from Valencia? Man, oh man, we didn't even see each other in an expo hall in Texas. And then before I knew it, you were posting, I was in the hall watching reels of you eating potatoes in Spain. And I'm like, man, this guy is all over the world.
Yeah, it was kind of a whirlwind this last week. I landed back in snowy Chicago last night at like 9:00.
Nice.
So I'm fresh off the plane.
Did you get that like entry to America where I walked out and it was like Jingle Bell Rock, and I was like, 'tis the season. Like, switches me up from all the running geekery, is like, get my head where it should be, focus on family.
I mean, it wasn't Jingle Bell Rock, but like coming back to a snow-covered car after having been in Valencia where it was kind of unseasonably warm, was a bit of like a shock, because it had been a week now since I'd been at TRE and Valencia. So like, I'd gotten used to the winter and then definitely got used to not having winter. And then I was back and I was like, I forgot gloves and I got to clear all this snow off my car and warm it up. And so it was a rude awakening at like, 9:00 at night when I just wanted to get home and see everybody.
So we have to ask, because it's Valencia now officially, and maybe it has been, but I think at this point it's like it has to be the fastest marathon in the world, full stop. Not merely with like the headlining talent, but just the depth of top tier talent. I think 32 men went under 2:10 and like the women were equally fast. Like it was I had the women's stat on my brain too, and I don't have it queued up here, but like it was something like to the effect of that. Like it was like a shocking amount of top tier talent, just absolutely ripping. And again, this is nothing new, but it's like it has to be just the fastest marathon in the world.
I mean, I really think it is. There might be a flatter course out there, but this was a pretty flat course. Only at like 1 or 2 points in the race did I even think like, oh, there's a little bit of an incline here. Like that was like noticeable. So I feel like it's flatter than Tokyo, which previously was what I thought was like the flattest course in the world. So this one's pretty flat. And I mean, people were really able to fly on this course. And it shows up in the times. I mean, we had John Career setting a PR. Joycelyn, was it Joycelyn Jepkosgei, who won at 2:14? 2:14. So I mean,
2:14 flat. She just couldn't
she
you just run a second
1
faster?
faster. There should be a 2:13 woman, but amazing on the front end. And like, you know, I was in the 3 hours to 3 hours 15 corral. That was a 5th corral at this race. So I
Oh
mean,
my God.
there was 4 corral. I mean, I think 1 and 2 are the pro men and sub elite men and sub elite women and pro women. But like there's 3, 4, and then 5 for like 3-hour runners. So I mean, it's amazing. There's a lot of fast people that came to race hard that day, and I think it's one we've had the conversation on this podcast before, where like when people kind of know what they're doing, and it's a little bit of a warm day, the finish line is going to be a little bit of mayhem, and it was. I've never seen so many stretchers at a finish line before.
Oh.
There were people like I saw a dude like lose eyes roll back, like they caught him, you know, like he like crumpled straight down at the finish line. So like there was some stuff happening. But I don't know, maybe I don't know how to run that hard anymore because I didn't feel like the heat got to me quite like that. But people came to run.
Let me ask you this. How many people, and not that I don't expect you to know the answer to this, but I'm just curious in case you do. How many people do you think get appearance fees to go to Valencia versus just like people who are like, I know this is the fastest race around, top level competition. I want to rip it. And even though I might finish, 40th, I could still run a 2:10:10 and be like, wow, this was like the best day of my life or whatever. Because it really is like, there's no way they're obviously paying all of these people, but I love that there's probably a lot of people there who go win other races. We're like, no, I'm okay with being the 30th to 50th person and still running a PR and being like 2 miles behind the leader.
Yeah, I don't know how many people are paid out to appear, but I do know that the prize money is pretty much world majors level in terms of like the prize pot that's announced. I think it's like 70,000 euros for the winner, if I'm not mistaken, plus €1 million bounty if someone sets a world record there. And so like they want to have that reputation that it's the fastest marathon in the world. They call themselves the Ciudad del Running. So I mean, like running city. Yeah, I think for a lot of the pros, I think that like they go for the same reason that people in the middle of the pack go. Like the reason I went, they go to run fast, and they know that like no matter where they end up, they're gonna have a pack of people to run with, and they won't be out there on their own. And so I think that I mean whether or not they're getting paid, like maybe they could hit the podium 3rd place at like a kind of like a 2nd tier marathon or even like lower 1st tier marathon, but they want to come to this because this is where you go to take big swings, and you might have a huge day if the right pack is surrounding you to kind of put you in a position to succeed.
So is it the city of running because of the Valencia Marathon, or the Valencia Marathon gained traction because of like the running history within the city? Like which is like the chicken or the egg here?
I'm not sure how it got there, but the branding is all over the city and the expo. So just kind of repeating what I saw.
Man, I got to get there. It just looks incredible. I love how when you scroll the results, the little national flag from where runners are from is just from all over the world. And it's just total nerd fest, like just people that are ready to gun. I was also thinking there's this psychological thing of like, what's the end of the year? We'll just like fit one in at the end of the year, even though we are officially 11 weeks out from Tokyo. Like it's still just a 12-month calendar that goes in, a loop, but it's like, well, just fit it in, just give one last rip. I mean, that's what we saw with some Americans who, had tried stuff and are like, I'm going to give it one last go before the holidays. So I love it.
Emma Bates and Keira D'Amato, I'm sure that's who you're referencing, right? So
And
Emma Bates running
yeah,
225.
225.
Keira ran 228, I think.
Yeah, 228. That relates to, I was saying to Matt, we've been doing relay long enough that it wasn't that long ago that Lindsay was like, come on, American Marathon men, like step it up. The women are leading you. And I was like, hey, like the men on the American side are stepping it up. We have like just truckloads under 210 now. And, there are international women running 214s that you're like, what in the world? Okay, this is nuts.
So is Peter breaking out this take because it's an all-male podcast, or did you have this one?
Exactly.
Did you have this one in the chamber ready until the right moment?
You waited until Erica and Lindsay weren't here to say
it. if Erica hears this, she's just gonna hurt herself eye rolling so hard. Careful. Yeah, no, that's true. This is a safe space. I don't assume anyone's going to listen to this. That's fine. Just me. No, no, it's exciting. And I mean, we all wanted to see Clayton Young take one big swing. And I was very, very happy to see, not that he was injured, but that he didn't attempt. I'm never a fan of someone like going full send on any type of injury. You're like, it just doesn't make sense. So,
right. Unless it's the Olympics or Olympic trials, like,
sure.
Save it.
Oh man. Yeah. Someone sent me a reel of John Career finishing and they're like, is he like flying away? Cause he's like flapping his arms. He's bouncing so high on those ASICS shoes that are like trampolines. And you're like, he's finishing. And you're like, yeah, he's a very good runner.
Well, that blue carpet, it's bouncy.
Yeah. Will you explain this? I was unclear. Is it floating or what's going on?
Yeah. So like it kind of feels to me like you're running on like a plywood deck a little bit, but I know it's not plywood. I didn't see
you indoor
down. It's not a track like material, but it's kind of the best thing that I could describe it to is if like someone had made like laid a bunch of plywood down over grass to protect it or something like that, like that kind of material. And then the carpet itself it feels a little bit soft. And so when you're I'm coming in, I'm struggling like crazy coming in at like kilometer like 41 and a half, and you like round the corner, and then there's actually 2 segments of blue carpet. One to kind of get down, because like that plaza where it is, it's kind of 2 levels. It's almost sunken in, and so you're run down a ramp, which is really fun. But if your legs are wrecked, you might fall at the bottom. And I saw someone that fell because like you just go from really nice fun downhill back to like
and you have no control. You're just
like cobblestone, smooth, but like it's like a cement surface. And then there's a little bit more of the blue carpet as well, because like they create this walkway over the water for you to get there. But there's a little bit of bounce to it, so it's fun. It's really it's really fun.
BU is built out of plywood, so it's possible like there's some similarities in that. What I'm curious though.
There's a lot more to it than that. It's like 8 layers of things. Like I watched them put like a basketball floor down. This was even 20 years ago. They put a basketball floor down. This was like the highest technology basketball floor you could have, and they had like a floating plywood layer, and they had like these 9 different layers so that the court would flex, and you could see it flex if you had like the right angle on like off like the lights in the gym. You could see it flex, even people just walking on it. And this was like a basketball court 20 years ago, to say nothing of like, I'm sure the technology went into BU.
Mike, you've raced multiple international marathons now. Like, do you feel like you're improving at the skill? I mean, when people tell me like, I'm headed across the world to run this marathon, I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm both envious of you and also it's its own challenge.
Yeah, I think that like I'm becoming less precious about adjusting to the time zone. Like I've been able to just handle time zone adjustments relatively well. And even when I don't, it's fine. Like it's the taper. Yes, you should be sleeping a lot, but like if you have a couple of nights bad sleep, you're going to be fine. You'll sleep when you need to sleep. And so like I don't stress out about that aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, international travel can be really tough, because the thing here, I would mention this before we started recording, but here's the thing that tripped me up a little bit on this trip that I think is unique. So my latest carb loading strategy has been to do, liquid carbs. That's not anything new. But I also hate having to like do the math of like how much dry powder can I bring in to another country before customs gets involved, so like I don't want to
Oh,
bring a whole bunch of like sachets of scratch or tailwind. You know what I mean? And so, because there are limits. They're very strictly enforced when you go to like the Caribbean, for example, which makes sense. But like there are rules in every country you enter, so I just never want to have to worry about that. So I'm thinking, what's everywhere in the world? Sprite. It's delicious. I don't really drink a lot of soda, and I'm like, I haven't had Sprite in
yeah.
like years. But I'm like, I had one. I'm like, this is tasty. And I'm looking at the can. It's like 44 grams of carbs per can. Guess what though? When you go to Europe, especially like very Western Europe, like UK, Ireland, it is mainly like I think a main distribution place for Coca-Cola products. The Coca-Cola that's made in for that part of the world is significantly less sugar. So I'm
Wow.
chugging all these European Sprites, and they're in these little bottles, which are very cute, but it's like 100 or 200. It's less than a can, but I'm chugging them. I'm a whole bunch of them, but it's only like 4 gram. They do things weird. It's like 4.4 grams of carbs per 100 milliliters, and I think a can is like 200 something milliliters. So it's like a fraction of the carbs.
Yeah.
So like I've been drinking all this Sprite, and I might as well just have gotten the Valencian orange juice.
You should have
Also
completely
tasty.
gone full food influencer. You could have done the Sprite challenge. I know you did the persimmons and the potatoes. We didn't get a Sprite challenge with all that Sprite you took in.
Yeah, I drank so much Sprite, but and it didn't help because it's mostly water. I mean, you can't really you could taste that it's different, but you don't notice like a 10x difference in sugar.
Wild.
The other thing is the on-course drink I thought was going to be Aquarius because I thought I
Okay.
read that somewhere, which I think is like a competitor to Pocari Sweat. Um, Very similar taste profile, but just a competing brand that makes it. And I was like, oh, the Aquarius that I've gotten in this country also is a fraction of the sugar that's in regular Aquarius. So I'm like, I'm not going to take the on-course drink. Now, when I got to the race, I noticed that it was Powerade and they served it in cups, but they had the bottles, like big bottles of it. So I'm like, maybe that's regular strength Powerade, but I have a feeling we're buying it in Spain. It's probably European strength Powerade. So like you got to factor all that stuff in if you're going to run a race, I guess in Western, like England and Spain. Because I did not have that problem in Japan. But this was something that I realized when I was in Spain this time. So just putting that out there for people.
Wow.
Well, PSA.
It's a lot to consider.
I should have brought my bagels. Should have brought a sleeve of bagels. I always feel kind of ridiculous putting that in the suitcase, but should have done it.
We were just debating the day before CIM, like, are you more of a sweet carb, consumer or more of a savory? Like, you got to get it in.
And
No
they had
shame.
you could have just visited the bakery, dude. You could have just like gotten like the really nice bread. You could have gone like, full like, high quality bread, Parisian style type vibe. I know Valencia's not in Paris, but like that whole like, like when you go abroad, you always hear all these people talking about how like, hey, like I'm gluten free, but when I get bread in Europe, I'm great. And then I come back and then like my gluten starts acting up again. Like you could have gone that route.
That certainly could have been an option, but I already picked my lane. I went with the
That's true.
Sprite lane, and I didn't realize until it was like too late, until like Saturday night. And I was like, I've made a giant mistake. The other thing that threw me off is so I'm thinking I'm just gonna eat paella all weekend, and it's gonna be great. But it's Spain, and they eat dinner late, and they have siestas. So a lot of places when I want to eat dinner as a middle-aged American man, those places are still in siesta time. They're not open for dinner yet. So like I ended up getting like Thai food in Valencia, Spain for my pre-race dinner. And I'm like, well, this is what it is what it is. I'll drink 7 Sprites and have some Spanish pad Thai. That's what it was. So, some challenges on the international.
Yeah. You go to Tokyo, you got to be ready for that.
I wonder if it's like the reverse. You know what I mean? Like these people, when they come to America, they have like the opposite effect.
Oh,
they're like, it's dinner time. How come every place is closed? This is bizarro world.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought
only place I can get food is 7-Eleven.
Yeah, in Crystal Lake, good luck trying to find a place that's open after 9 o'clock.
This feels like a natural progression into CIM, where also there are weird hours when it comes to food intake. Namely, like if you want to get a good cup of coffee in downtown Sacramento, you better be someone who sleeps in. Our good friend Lindsay Hine experienced this because every single coffee shop opens no earlier than 7:30.
7:30 or 8 a.m. on a Saturday, and you're
so
like,
she's up at 6 because she's on East Coast time, and she's like, I've looked at every single coffee place, none of them are open. What's going on? Like,
I take coffee very seriously, and I basically, I use the terminology language like if you were breaking bad news. I was like, Lindsay, I have something to tell you. I don't want you to get upset. And she was like, what is it? And I'm like, the coffee that they promised in the lobby will not be available for another half hour. And then I like shielded myself like so she wouldn't attack me. But I was equally upset. Like I was meeting her with empathy because I was pissed. Yes. Sacramento is the state capital. It's a very working person city. And on the weekend, they sleep in a little bit. They're just like, hey, most of the people downtown, except for this weekend, are not around. So we'll just chill a little bit.
Peter, can you tell me about what your viewing plan was, spectating plan was for CIM? Last year's your plan, I saw you had a bike. This year, what were you doing?
Well, first of all, I talked to some people who biked on the course, and I was like, respect, but I would never do that anymore because I'm a more mature individual. I was telling Matt, I mean, it's fills my heart that like Road to the Trials this season came from our love of this event. 2 years ago, 2023, it was the final hour to qualify for the trials. And essentially, I think I blacked out. I was like, oh, hey friend, do you think you could drive your dad's bike down, and then I could borrow your dad's bike? I could put it in our hotel room. I could bike it to a friend's hotel in the morning. We could put it in a car. We could go to the start where I saw you. Then I could bike on the course, and I could put it in a different car. Anyways, then I biked on the course, and it was madness, but I got to a front row seat. So this year I was with some guys
there because Mike, one guy we were interviewing for one of the trials goes, yeah, it was weird because last time in 2023, some dude on a bike like came up next to me and started cheering me on. I was like, is he on the call right now?
Yes. Is he in the room?
What do you
with
mean?
Us?
I'm like, it was Peter. He's like, for real? I'm like, yes.
I was screaming at those guys so hard. It was funny. I was in a car of people chasing Mitch Amons, who we've talked about on this pod before. He was shooting for the trials standard, and sure enough, he went sub 2:15, so just crushed it. We'll get to the race, but good old CJ Albertson paced the OTQ pack straight at 2:15 pace the entire time. Dang. For those listening at home, the trial standard is 2:16. So they were like, at no point were we on 2:16 pace. Like, I mean,
why did he do that?
I mean, he and Rory were like keeping the vibes high. They were chatting and everything, but the guys were like, I mean, talk about getting peer pressured into something that escalates quickly. They were like, I mean, all these guys who had run 2:14, they don't mind it at that point, but they were like, I didn't want to say anything, but we were flying down the road. So we jump in the car. It's dark out, and I'm with Mitch's wife and some other friends, and they're navigating. And I have this moment where I'm like, all right, these guys are seasoned adventurers. They've like navigated all sorts of things with Google Maps around the world. And then a little part of my brain on the other shoulder is going like, yeah, Peter, but you've obsessed this course like more than almost anyone you know, and you should probably chime in if they're going to go the wrong way. And the problem with CIM is it's on the American River. That's the good part. The problem from a navigating perspective is if you find yourself on the south side, you're pretty much wedged in and you got no room to drive on. So at some point I was just like, hey, can we pull over? I'm going to jump in the front seat and navigate us, because when guys are running 5:10 pace, you have very little time to navigate. So we get all the way out to mile 9. We went mile 9, mile 14, mile 19, and then rushed to the finish, which was super, super fun. But at one point we did have to, do you ever do that thing where you run into a volunteer and they've been told what their job is for like days, and you're the first person to get them to do their job? They're like, this sweet young man was like, I'm sorry, you cannot cross. And I'm like, hey man, I was like, oh, we just need to literally go 50 feet across this road. And he's like, nope, course is closed. And this was after a previous state trooper had turned us away at a previous location. So I see this sweet kid and I'm like, I know that he's been coached to do this, but I'm like, hey man, like the world record pace wouldn't even be here for 30 minutes. Like, I'm just like,
Yeah.
Eventually I sort of like talked him into it. I was like, I just need 3 seconds to drive across this road. But they do such a good job that you can see why a lot of cities don't shut the course the way CIM does, because it causes mayhem for traffic. Most cities are like, well, you can cut
But only
through
for a
and
little while.
yada yada, but like, yeah, only
Just for a
so
little
yeah, I
while
got
on
to
a
jump
Sunday morning.
around.
That's it.
Did you, Mike? You've been all over the world. Maybe the thing that will haunt me the most from this weekend is we interviewed Joe Whelan on the Road to the Trials podcast a couple weeks ago, and he said he was going to go to the U.S. Championship, and sure enough, he shot off the front, was leading by a minute, and around mile 14, I go out on the road and I'm screaming at him, like cheering him on, and he's just like, "Hey, high five," and I'm like, "What?" And then he's gone, and so my friends have video of me just like leaving him hanging when he's winning the U.S. Championship, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. So then on an Instagram post yesterday, I posted like, man, we have such respect for Joe. He came so close. And then he followed up the comment with like, to my comment was like, I blame it on the high five, on the missed high five. I was like, oh man,
It's your fault, Peter.
it's my fault.
You took him out of his flow. He was having a good moment, and then you just jarred him right out of it.
He's so
Do
good.
we know when he was passed? Because at the 24-mile split, he's still winning. So we're at the finish line. Lindsay and I are like camped out at the finish line. I have my video going. She's taking pictures. We see the head car come out because the car takes a left. It's about to take another left, so you can see it. The crowd is buzzing with anticipation. The turn comes. Every single person there is expecting to see Joe Whelan, who's been leading the race for over 10 miles. And then Footsum takes the left. We're like, holy cow! Like, nobody could believe it. Again, Footsum is like an incredibly accomplished runner. So no one was surprised that he won the race. But it was like, given the anticipation of the last hour, it was like, whoa, when did this happen? Because again, it was after the last split. So we had heard no word that like a pass had actually occurred.
That's true. It was after 40K. And Joe posted that it was in the final kilometer.
Well, we're interviewing him in 2 days, so I can't wait to talk to him about it. But like, even we had a friend who was at, I think, a mile and a half to go. And they're like, Joe was winning when he passed us and he looked great. It's like, what happened? I have so many questions. That's for sure. I can't wait to get some sort of answers in the near future. But like, if you're a mile and a half from the finish line and looking great and you've been winning for an hour, like that should be, adios, man. Like this baby's a wrap.
How is the new finish line for CIM?
So it only affects the non-OTQ groups.
Oh, okay.
So the OTQ, basically the leaders of the men's pack, I think at like 220, it gets cut off for the men. So there was the same left and a left.
Oh, okay.
And then the women OTQ group, same thing. They do the same left and left that people have always done. And then the 99% of the finishers, they take a left and then they take a right on that road. And it's like equidistant from the turn because, for obvious reasons, from math purposes. So the only people who were kind of like potentially in a muddled situation were the men who were finishing within the women's OTQ pack.
Got it.
So so they would take a left off that main road that you've been on for like an hour, right? And then at that point, they have to split in that that 75 yards, 50 yard zone. The women would take a left and those men would take a right there. And then, so like, they had some volunteers splitting the two groups at that point, which was like a huge point of emphasis, I'm sure, like in the technical meeting and all of that. So I haven't heard anything about people complaining about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if, something happened. But at the same time, they did say someone in that group, banged a left and then going towards the women's side of the street. At that point, there wasn't going to be any deleterious effects in terms of like their finishing time or anything like that. Cause again, it's the same distance. They wouldn't be like DQ'd or anything. It would just be like crazy awkward when they cross the finish line.
Yeah. It's like, why would a man be there? Why would a man be there? Okay. That's interesting. Like, I'm just trying to, I don't know. My nerd brain is like, How do you manage that from a timing mat perspective? But
And
for
it's
sure.
all just because of capital construction. So anyone who's run CIM in the past 5 years knows that, like, there's always something happening construction wise near the state capitol. And this year it's even more pronounced. I guess they're building a whole annex behind the Capitol building. And so there's cranes everywhere. So, that's why they diverted it. Whereas, like, in the past, they had, like, the OTQ group would take, like, again, a left and then the left on that block, and then the main pack would also take left and left, but would be like the second left,
The longer.
not the first
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
So, like, there was already, like, this departure of, like, here's where, like, the elites finish and here's where everyone else finishes, just from, like, a media perspective and being able to shuttle them to the VIP area. And so instead of this year, the only difference was that they would take a right instead of a left, but there was always a segmentation within the group.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a bigger deal because I'm getting emails about this. Like, why are they emailing me? And I haven't raced this race in like 4 years.
But I
What
think, they cut off, from my understanding, they cut off that kind of like top tier elite finish line at like the 240 mark. So if you finished after 240, you wouldn't know any difference. Like, you
Sure.
would just be like following the road like you would have been doing at mile 3. Like, it would have been
Yeah.
there wouldn't have been any other options.
Man, I was
Alright.
so happy. We got so many nice shout outs and people approaching us saying, like, thanks for doing that preview episode. Thanks for doing a course breakdown. It's just always, Mike, I know a lot of people reach out to you to thank you for the videos you shoot like along the courses so they can get a sense of, there was a while where like you had the only video about Tokyo. I was like, if I want to know what I'm heading into, like it's Kofuzi or nothing. And so I was just felt thankful that we got the chance to put out that episode and break down like how to approach it. Because yeah, then people got to greet us and say like afterwards, like I used that strategy and it worked out, or I tried to do that strategy. It didn't work out. So it was a fun conversation to have.
And I'll say this: I know we're going to do a full deep dive on Road to the Trials, but I do want to touch on parts of it here. Is that I was pleasantly surprised, but I was definitely surprised at the density of runners who were capable of going underneath the OTQ standard at that race, given that we've had already seen so many people do it this fall. Then to see over 100 people go underneath that standard in that race, which was the best that they'd ever seen in the past, and it
Yeah.
not even be like the end of a window. I was just like, I'm just amazed at what, not the like the top tier marathoners are doing, because again, it's you expect that, but it's like that next group down, the just like we were talking about with Valencia, the strength of that second tier, and that sounds like a negative statement, but like that step a little bit down from the pros, those top tier sub elites, the density with which they're just crushing these OTQ times so early in the window. Like, these people didn't need any ramp up. Like, they were ready the minute they announced these times. And it's just like, it's a shocking output of production. Like, how many people were going to qualify for the Olympic trials? Like, you saw 237 on the women, 216 on the men. I was thinking, oh, maybe 500 or 600. Like, that number is going to go way higher. Like, this is going to be like Atlanta in terms of like overall. It might not be the same kind of like wildly different gender ratio like
Mm.
we saw in Atlanta. It might be much more 50-50, but like we might see those kind of numbers again.
I'm going to sell that take. That's interesting. I think I think people were pumped up. They were ready to go. And there had been rumors that it was going to be 216. The 216 surprises me more than the 237. There's a lot of women who had been staring that down with like ferocity for years. We saw a bunch of women. We're going to interview Leanne Sherrick tomorrow, who missed in the last cycle, but sort of number's been hovering in her brain. I'm very glad that they didn't decrease the women's standard, make it harder. I can't wait to see like the lifting effect of the inspiration to the larger
That's
community.
what I'm
But
saying. That's what I think is going to happen, is that we're going to have 2 years of people going, oh, wait, a lot of people are already doing this. Maybe I can go do this as well. Like, I swear to God, I had like 5 different people who were in the 240s, saw what happened and go, wait, hold on. Like, I think this is possible for me too. And it was clearly because they saw how many people got it. Like, it was a
yeah.
clear correlation.
I mean, I think it's interesting our perspectives. We come to the sport slightly differently, and you're looking at the numbers and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I think this could go. And I have such a healthy respect for 216. It still like makes my chest tight that I'm like, and so actually at the Marathon Project, where a bunch of my buddies are headed there. And I think it's anecdotal, there's a lot of data, but seeing some of my friends either succeed or fail will give me some indication, because it's like the people you have trained with that you're like, I know how strong a runner this guy is. And I don't know if you heard, but the marathon doesn't know you anything. So like maybe they could be very fit and it
Trademark.
still won't work out. Yeah. But I was just, I was blown away. Whereas the women, I felt like, it's like we were seeing, they were pissed off like 4 years ago and they're like, I told you, I'm taking this down. So it's so exciting. And yeah, we're going to try to get some coaches on the podcast to sort of talk about that collective effort shooting for these thresholds.
But Peter, a lot of the people that got the time were people who were new to the marathon. That's part of the reason I'm saying this too. Like the winner of the race, like there were a lot of people who were like, this is my first marathon. This is my second marathon. Like there's this whole cohort of runners who didn't even try for 237 in the last build.
Yeah.
Who are now like, or ready to do it and have seen this as the natural progression potentially in their running lives, that are approaching this completely fresh, not like the Leanne Shirks of the world, but like the Emily Bournes of the world, who are like, my first marathon and hey, I'm a U.S. champ. Like obviously not many people are going to be able to say that in the future. But at the same time, I think that there's like these 20 somethings who just got out of college, who've embraced the marathon, who are going to be looking at this like, yeah, let's go do it. Like this is a fun, challenging goal, but something that's worth my time. And I wonder how many of those people are going to be going at this in the next couple of years, especially considering the momentum we're going to see.
Well, as 3 middle-aged men talking about marathoning on the podcast, I would like to give us most of the credit, because no, but I was talking to a guy who is younger than us, but he's like 30 maybe 30. And he's like, what's cool is like, I'm talking to more athletes right out of college who think the marathon sounds cool. And like, they're teaming up and they're going for it. He's like, he was saying that when he graduated, let's say 6 years ago, he's like, I don't know if the marathon was all that, like it was the marathon, but he's like, I don't know if it was that compelling for the top talent that maybe they wanted to go chase, like get that 5K PR, which they could still do. But like, so you could wrap it into the larger running boom, the larger post COVID running boom. But I kind of think, we have been hyped on the trials for a couple cycles now. Like it's always been fun, but like there got a lot. 5 years ago, there was a ton of publicity about the number of women who went to Atlanta, that type of thing. So I think it's Kofuzi's YouTube channel. Let's go.
Well, I did cover it in 2020.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm in between you guys. So part of me is like, look, there's so much time for that this window is still open. That someone that is like a 248, a woman that's like 248, could very well be in 2 years, depending on like what their like running history has been like, could very well be under the standard before the next trials. But on the other hand, I'm like, are we now just seeing all the people who are capable of hitting that window? Are they just getting it done and out of the way right now? Like they were all really close in 2024. And so like, we're like, it's kind of like low hanging fruit's a weird word for it, but kind of like the people that we thought were going to get it are getting it now. I'm not sure like what to make of these numbers, but Matt makes the point of like, some of them hadn't run before. So these are not like known entities in terms of like, yeah, this person's been chasing for a bit. So like, it could be, it could be what, I mean, I don't want it to be like 1,000 and 1,000 because I know that if it's 1,000 and 1,000 on the trials and the start line, the next year's standards are going to be so draconian that I'm going to be like, no one gets to go anymore. It's not fun.
Totally.
So
sub
like
210, you get to go.
Well,
no, I mean,
well, Mike, this is not compelling podcasting. You need to choose a side.
Okay.
Right? We're not here for well-reasoned, thoughtful, gray area takes.
Okay. My take is we're getting. I'm still gonna hedge, but I think we're getting most of the people that are gonna get it right now.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna taper. It's gonna taper down as we get closer. There'll be some.
So it's apple picking season. We're just getting those apples that are just getting plucked right away.
I think
Yeah.
we saw
But
large. I mean, it's a very generic framework. I'm like, I think it's going to be, we saw large, then we'll get medium, and then we'll get small. I think the small stories from in 2027 will be truly inspiring. Um, but I did talk to someone, I'm forgetting who it was, who like really tracks that type of athlete. I mean, I track this type of athlete, but they were like, yeah, I was wondering where everyone was. And then I realized, oh, they all signed up for CIM. And so it was the US championship. And I think it's hats off to that team. We're partnered with CIM for the next 2 years. We were there doing live shows, and I think there's this collective acceptance of like, you definitely could run really fast at Chicago or Indy. I'm going to pick those two out above the rest, but really, can you even make a case against CIM being fast? Like what would you'd be really
And the
reaching
and
into?
weather here is a big thing. Like weather,
Yeah.
a bad weather day at CIM is like a great weather day other places. Like the
Yeah.
range of weather outcomes at CIM is fairly narrow. So I've been there for 5 years. Again, there are some days that are better than others, but they've all been pretty good. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And this year we should say, I'm not sure I guess it's technically possible, but I don't think I've ever been on a race course that had better weather than CIM this year. It was 42 degrees. It was overcast and there was no wind.
Yeah. There's no
I
wind
mean,
at
that
all.
is exactly what you're looking for.
It was nice. I
I could
mean,
have gone for some of that in Valencia.
I know,
That's not
right?
what we got over.
Oh man. It's sort of like we could talk about that because we weren't there, and so no one was going to hear us. Like post race, you hear a lot of stories of like, well, so and so didn't want to admit it, but her hamstring was kind of messed up, or his ankle was messed up. Like, but there's no value in talking about it. Doesn't help anyone, so you don't bring it up. So because we were away from you guys, we were like, oh man, have you seen the? There's like the misery loves company, but also like a little separation of like the marathon's going to be hard, but it's even going to be better weather. I was trying at the expo to like pile on some pressure on the people. I was like, tomorrow is the day. Do not waste tomorrow's weather. Like it's definitely on. And that was super fun. Mike, you'll appreciate this. So we had this little couch setup, like we've interviewed you at the expo before. Then there was any number of chairs, a couple dozen chairs. That's really nice. But then the line to take your photo within a CIM where like you're
Oh,
the eye with the backdrop was wrapping around our stage. So we had a captive audience that was incrementally moving
nice,
forward. Yeah,
nice.
it worked out really well. That was
Hopefully, you
good.
got some new listeners, some new subscribers.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people are like, "What is this again?" So you guys sound really nerdy, and we're like, "You are too. Don't be judging us." Oh man. So wait, I was so hyped on CIM that I just flew away from Portland, where all the best runners in America who are short course came and did 10K cross country, 2K cross country, youth cross country. You guys follow any of that?
I watched the women's 10K race this morning.
Okay.
Uh, on I guess tape delay. That was an exciting race. I mean, watching Wine Kaladi race and a 10K is always exciting. But seeing her on a cross country course, it's another level where she's just really, really good. And it was amazing to see. It was an interesting start though. Emma Grace Hurley
Mm-hmm.
took it out hard. And I thought she was going to have a stellar day, but the camera didn't really show us what happened to her in like the last kilometer and a half or so. But Winey made a move, and no one could keep up. So
Yeah.
she had a really great performance out there. Parker Valby was looking really good. She also I think she came in fourth. So some good performances to see out there. It's nice.
I didn't get a chance to watch the CIM weekend, like completely like engrossed me. And then like my travel was so scattered and messed up. I had like flight cancellations and all this stuff that like I was like a mess all day yesterday. So I wasn't able to catch up on it. And then the Wi-Fi was down on my plane going cross country. So like I couldn't even catch up there.
Let me ask you this, Matt, because I know I have a feeling I know the answer for Peter. But let me ask you this: when you've come from like a huge weekend, and CIM is probably one of the biggest weekends of the year for you, as it is usually for me whenever I go. Are you like running out by the time you leave? Like, would you even have wanted to watch a race on your phone, or like, or are you like, no, give me more? I'm so inspired. I want to watch more running.
That's a great question. To a point, like I did have a little window of time where I had Wi-Fi on the plane, and I did opt to watch the NFL. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
So so I guess that probably answers your
Yeah,
question.
that does it. Does it. I'm
But
generally a fan of diversity, but Matt is a fan of too many sports. I think we need to
true.
narrow our focus.
So, but you bring up a good point that there is an oversaturation after like a weekend like that, where you're like, okay, I still love you, but you know,
Yeah. That happens for me in TRE. I don't wanna watch
Oh,
anyone's TRE content. No offense to anyone, I know you're making great stuff, but, like, I just can't. I'm like, "I just lived it, I can't do that." And then, for me, like, after I'd run Valencia, I'm looking at my phone selfishly because I wanna see how my reels and stuff are doing. But all of a sudden, CIM starts coming, and I'm like, "Put the phone down. Not yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for a whole 'nother race and
oh
all these."
yeah.
I couldn't start looking at it until, like, the next day when I was at the airport. I was like, "I can't." It's
this is why your food content hit so well. Like a lot of people brought up to me the potato reel. Like they loved it. They weren't sure if like you were in on the joke of the comment, the follow-up reel to like, wait, hold on a second. You kidding me? Like that vibe, like this, I was like, this is pure satire. This is a riff on other people's like social media styles. Like I could see the direction there, which I absolutely loved with Abandon. But that's why that hit so well for me. I was like, all right, this is a runner's take, but it's not about running right now, which I can totally appreciate.
Yeah, well, the potatoes, someone warned me about the potatoes. Apparently, one of the sponsors of Valencia Marathon is a grocer, which, I mean,
Oh,
like, what grocery store has money to sponsor a race like Valencia? I mean, seems like it seems like something else is happening here. But I mean, I'm not gonna. This is a reputable news outlet, so I'm not gonna start spreading rumors. But anyway, there's a grocery store that is a sponsor of Valencia Marathon, and they put produce in your like bib packet. And like there, people would tell me about the potatoes, and I'm like, raw potatoes. What are you gonna do with that? I can't bring raw produce home like that. I'm not gonna bring that. I have to declare that at customs.
yeah,
Like, what am
no.
I gonna do with this? So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna eat it. Like, I'm just gonna go for it. That's why it's in the bag. I got to eat it, right? And then the thing with the comment, someone had commented like, "Hey, you're supposed to microwave that first. It says it right on the package." I'm like, there's not cooking instructions on a package of potatoes. That's ridiculous. Like, can you imagine like buying a bag of apples and like there was a recipe
Wait,
for apple
hold
pie
on.
on
You were
there?
genuinely surprised? I thought that was a joke.
That is a real reaction. I'm like, there's
Oh
no
my God.
way.
I thought that was
There,
like you like the like you were like I thought you were gonna get like an Oscar for like the acting. I was like, he's nailing this.
there's no way there's cooking instructions for a potato on a bag of potatoes. And so I'm looking at it and I see the one side and it's like giving me nutritional information for potatoes. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. And then I look over and I can't really understand the Spanish, but there's a picture of a microwave and it says 7 to 8 minutes for an 800-watt oven. And I'm
Wow.
like, okay, there's cooking instructions on a bag of raw potatoes at the expo for Valencia Marathon. And I'm like,
I
well,
thought you were like copying all the Instagram like reels
I
where
mean,
someone's like,
yeah,
hold
yeah.
on, you're telling me I've been doing this wrong my whole life, and then they go and they try the thing that they saw on someone else's reel. I thought that was like a riff
That,
on that.
that was that was the idea, but I was going to be like, guys, I don't read Spanish, but I'm pretty sure there's no instructions here. But there were instructions there, and so I was like, this is working out really fun. This is funny. I can't believe there's actually because that means someone looked at their potatoes and was like, oh, there's cooking instructions. I
Huh.
can't believe how silly of Kofuzi to like because I was astonished that everyone's like, dude, you're supposed to cook them, and I'm like, is that what everyone's thinking when they get a bag of potatoes with their bib and their finisher shirt that you should cook? These are potatoes I should take home and cook. I'm just thinking that the whole thing is surreal. Like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do with
But have
this.
you ever seen anyone eat a raw potato? Now I'm even more confused.
I'm sure at some point I have. I mean, have you ever seen a person eat like a raw onion? Like do that thing where they like eat
Yes.
an
Sure.
onion.
Yeah.
There's like a dude that does it on an airplane. He like gets
Oh,
on an airplane, sets up his phone on the tray table, and he peels the onion and then just slowly
dude.
bites it, and he just films other people's
I feel
reactions.
so
That's a
bad for the
little
people
rude.
around them.
Can you
Oh my
imagine being on
God.
that airplane and be like, what does it smell like feet all of a sudden? And you're like, that dude's eating and yeah, so that's kind of like where I was like, let's just try this. But it was better and worse than I was expecting. I ate the whole potato. There's a video of me eating the whole potato. It's I made this for TikTok, so it's like I only posted like 7 seconds of it, but I ate the whole potato. It took 3 bites to eat the whole potato, but I ate the whole potato. By the end, I was like, "This is not bad. This is not bad. I can handle this." But then I also knew that there'd be persimmons after the race because I watched a Ben Parks video, and I'm like, "Why in Valencia? They're not giving you Valencian oranges." I don't know. Maybe they're not in season. But then you get persimmons. So I was like, all right, after the race, I got to do the persimmons. So I ate the persimmon, and people freaked out because apparently you're supposed to peel them. I didn't know. I did a
Oh
Google
yeah.
search ahead of time, and they
Okay.
said it could go either way. Depends on the type. But I'm like, but if this is the kind that they're giving you in your finisher bag with your
Then
medal,
you would
it's
think,
got to be the kind that you can just eat. But then again, they also gave out bananas, which you do peel. So I don't know.
oh yeah, but with your hands, with your
Yeah,
opposable thumb,
yeah.
like
But
that's
you would need a knife to be able to peel the persimmon.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
that'd
I
be a
just
different.
I just went for it.
Matt had to step off, but
Mhm.
I'm curious what is your brain is left with about TRE, given that you consumed it like a fire hose and then you stepped away, left the continent, came back. What what stands out?
Yeah, so I experienced it very differently than how I normally do.
Okay.
So normally I go as like a reporter and I want to go see what everyone's doing. I try to stay very unbiased. Um, like I try to even wear shoes that are from
Yeah.
a brand that's not going to be represented there,
Oh, I
which
ever
is
called
fine.
your uncomfortable shoes?
Yeah, it's always ends up being very uncomfortable for me. But this year I went down with Adidas because they had a couple of shoes that they were going to be doing launches for, and so they wanted some help, publicity, to show off the way they were going to activate for that. So I kind of like spent like a TRE with Adidas.
Hmm.
So I only spent maybe less than 2 hours on the actual show floor
Okay.
at TRE. So like that was like a sprint. I was like running around trying to see as much as I could see in as short a period of time as possible. So it was very different, but I overall liked I enjoyed what I saw because it was in San Antonio. It's the first year in a new space. Everyone's booth seemed to have gotten a little bit bigger. So, like, that was also nice because I felt like people made good use of the extra space that everyone got, and I feel like everyone's just stepping it up. I feel like before it
Hmm.
was just a retailer show, and now they are very conscious of how media shows up and presents at this conference as well, and so I feel like in good and bad ways, there's just much more spectacle, to the
Yeah.
whole event, and so there's just a lot more going on. Every brand it used to be pretty rare that brands would do like, stuff off campus, is actually really frowned upon as well, especially if you're not
Interesting.
exhibiting at the show, but
Yeah.
now if I was like, "You're exhibiting at the show, you can do your own off-campus stuff," you know?
Uh-huh.
So, it's like the atmosphere has changed quite a bit. So, there's a lot more that's just happening, around TRE, and, it was really cool to see, and it was just fun to experience it in a different city because I felt like it enabled people to kind of, like, rethink some of the stuff that they'd always done or, uh, think about stuff that they'd never done. So, that was
That's
good.
interesting. Yeah, I was definitely it's only my second time. First time going to San Antonio. It definitely seems like it's rolling along. It has tons of momentum. I would have loved to see it maybe a few times in Austin to see that growth and like you're talking about, like the playing by the rules. Because at this point, from my fresh perspective, it feels very like inevitable. Like everyone's there, everyone's trying hard. I did hear about a trail brand that I won't give free clout to, but I enjoy them. And I guess the guy was like had a suitcase out in the lobby and was kind of doing some meetings with his 6 products, like meeting with some retailers right there. Trying to
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. They've always done it that way, and
oh,
so
okay.
I stopped taking their meetings, because
Gotcha.
I'm just like, I'm not a huge rule follower, but I feel like,
You're trying.
I mean, it's a convention, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
Like
um
let's participate. And we know like how hard they try, how much effort all of these brands put in. I will say I've only experienced it from just being way outside on the I don't play a key role in this type of event. So I felt almost guilty midway through because the small that run specialty shops, like they're working real hard and they have to consume a ton of information and then they have to make some important decisions. like for their year planning. The brand representatives I know have a lot of work to do, and they have to keep showing up fresh. And after like every meeting is, equally important because it is for presenting their brand. And then few people made like sort of passing comments to me, like, so you just get to like hang out and do whatever you want. And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess like that's one way to put it, but like, it's very informative to be there. I felt like relative to 3 years ago, I was just blown away by how many good shoes there are. There's just like I felt like there was more disparity 3 years ago. There's like, these are great shoes. These are sneaky good. And then there's some shoes that you're like, yeah, are they really using modern foams? And now I'm like, man, every booth pretty much around the whole place would have been like the best shoes that have ever existed in human history until just a few years ago. So pretty cool from the runner perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time to be a runner. There aren't a lot of dogs out there anymore, and
Mm.
so it's like everyone's making good shoes. If you're not, the world knows about it, and so like you're not going to be around for very long. And so that makes it very exciting. It also kind of like makes me a little bit nervous about all the I saw a lot of new shoe brands,
Mhm.
which I normally don't pay too much attention to right away because everything's like it's so new. You never know what it is. I'll wait to see if it's real. Like
Mhm.
if they're around in like 2 years, then maybe I'll pay attention. Um, but like there's been a lot, and so that tells me that it seems like there's much more access to good foams, which
Yes.
that might have been a little bit more locked up previously. There may have been different um, economic and I guess non-economic barriers to entry that seem to be disappearing, which I think is going to be a win for the consumer. But I also see some potential pitfalls because then it's kind of like, well, then if brand names aren't that important anymore, then like someone that doesn't have a brand name can take advantage of the situation too.
Gotcha.
So like I'm a little bit like nervous but excited that like there could be some disruption coming. If not disruption, maybe some downward pricing pressure at least,
Yeah. Oh,
which
yeah.
would be nice since shoes have gotten very expensive very quickly over the last couple of years.
I
Um,
still feel like, though, I was blown away that there wasn't more discussion about tariffs, not to get into all
mm,
microeconomics, but I was
yeah.
like, this is crazy. Like, this is a huge deal. And I don't have a clear sense of how it hits, different shoes are coming from different countries. I think I assumed it would show up as a spoken theme. It wouldn't be like on the wall, like
Mm.
these prices are up due to tariffs. But I was just like, man, how are some of these companies going to stay in business if margin is flying out the door? But, you know,
So we had a lot of those discussions last year, and so I feel like because everything is so advanced and far out in terms of when buying's happening, when shipping's happening, I think that a lot of that kind of um, has factored into either a needed price increase or cover for a price increase that they wanted to make anyway. But yeah, that's not really something that like any of the brands really want to go on record talking about um, for I don't know retribution reasons, I guess. Yeah, so it's not really something that is gets discussed a lot.
I do think there's a fun, like anyone who's there is putting in a huge amount of effort and they feel like their product or service could be the unlock for people who really, care about their running. So, I'm like talking to different people on whether it's, yeah, super shoe, but like if you're going to, it's sort of like if you're going to care about your running so much, then why wouldn't you want to dial in, fill in the blank? And blank is like your apparel, your nutrition, your shoes, your socks, your shoelaces, like your
Mhm.
wearables, like, and it's like each of them on some level has the same like core pitch, which is like, you got to dial this in if you're serious about running. And I was like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff to dial in. Like, clearly not all of us, but it makes sense. Like, there's going to be different audiences for those things.
So would you say that that's kind of been the theme for you? Like, what is your takeaway from TRE? Just so
Yeah,
then
to
we'll
me,
wrap it up. We're not boring
yeah,
everyone who
we
doesn't
won't go
want
on forever, but
shoe
I,
conference.
I would just say like, yeah, we're in a golden era of so many great options. So I do think people can lean into preference of personal preference, like I think you do a good job of this on your channel being like, if you like this shoe, you might try these other shoes. As opposed to, I feel like I've been around running for long enough that people are like, those brands make bad shoes. You got to go over here to get the good shoes. I'm now like, hey, teach their own a little bit. And then, okay, I can barely deliver this theme with a straight face. So good thing this is audio. But the idea that female runners are not niche.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I am friends with Shannon Roberry and Jess Dorrington, who are launching a book, Strong as a Mother. And they were told many times, like, no one wants this book. Like, this book isn't, like, there's no audience for this book.
Book for women is too niche?
Like, both the stories and the tools from a PT perspective for
Okay.
runners who get pregnant and then are postpartum.
Mhm.
And,
Okay.
you know, but that's the most niche. But then even there was a panel of female led brands and just this idea that, the female runner is anything less than like 51% of the population. It's just, it kind of, you can't say it clearly, except for that, the power structure and the tradition is make it for men and then adapt it for women. So I think I did. I didn't see anything that was blowing my mind from like, this is going to revolutionize the game in the next year, but it feels like the conversation is becoming like laughable to not just acknowledge what a real presence female runners are. I don't know.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
could see that. I could see that.
Yeah.
In my limited time at the show, that's not what I got, but I think that's
Mm,
also a reflection of when I'm stopping in kind of without an appointment, and the person that I happen to know there is trying to tell me something that I'd be interested in.
totally.
They're not gonna be like, "Let me tell you about all our women's initiatives," although I'd be very interested in a discussion.
Yeah.
But also, what I get is like, "Here's what's happening in the shoes,"
Yeah.
And so for me, the thing that I saw across most brands was we're going deeper into comfort. So all the
Yeah.
all the old school dudes who've been complaining that the shoes are too high and too soft, it's gonna be another bad year, guys. Everyone's going into more and more plushness, more and more comfort.
I
So
know. I'm seeing some like anecdotal stories of like our stack shoes causing injury, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna need to see some bulletproof data to prove that to me, because you know what, runners get injured, and they get injured in
yeah,
zero
yeah.
drop shoes, they get injured in barefoot shoes, they get injured, like, not all of them, but there's a lot of high stack shoes, and there's a lot of the super trainer category continues to get like expanded upon. I was making fun of my buddies at ASICS a little bit, like, you guys are blasted out, man. I can't, you got so many good shoes in the same overlap. Like, I'm not privy to the long-term planning, but I'm sure I would assume some of those are going to get slightly pushed to the side because they just have so many good shoes. And I also, to that female theme, which hardly can be called theme, I ran into Ashley Mateo several times. And so,
I tried to find her, but it didn't work out.
okay.
One of the people I really wanted to see over the weekend. I
So
missed
if
her.
you're wandering around the show with the publisher of Run Her, like, you're going to get a lot of stories your direction of like, yeah, exactly. And so you're like, okay, that's fair. Yeah, there's Substack articles coming out about the show. There's YouTube videos coming out of the show. Like, if you're a running fan, running nerd, definitely do some searching and check it out, because it's interesting to see what brands are trying. I don't know. Yeah.
Mhm.
Is your travel year done?
Yes, I have. There was a moment where I was debating whether or not to go to Marathon Project to go
I
on.
was wondering.
After Valencia, I ended up meeting up with someone, and they were like, one of my favorite things is when people go to races where there's a lot of fast runners, just point the camera at the ground and look at the shoes as they pass. And I was like,
Oh,
I could do that, you know.
yeah. Yeah.
And so I was
Marathon
like, maybe I
Project.
will. But and I also just I know that area.
Oh,
In my previous life, I used to go to a work conference there every year. And it's also not that far from some really nice and manageable nice for me and manageable, trail running in the area outside of
wow.
Phoenix is right
Yeah.
there too. And so, like, I've stayed at that resort before. Um,
Gotcha.
so I'm like, this is something I gotta do it. I got
You
like,
could,
it's like a big circle. Everything's coming back together. I should go, but I'm like, it was late Thanksgiving this year. The holiday
yeah.
season's already really compressed. We won't even have all our Christmas lights up yet, and, like, I can't believe I can't be leaving again. I'm
I
just asking to get stuck, like, in Phoenix for
Totally.
Christmas,
Yeah, miss
you know?
Christmas because you're like
Yeah,
one Chicago snowstorm. That makes
yeah,
sense. I'm very excited to follow that from afar, but also, um, yeah, like Houston's gonna be here in not too long. So like, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I'm even on the fence about going to Houston as well,
Okay.
just because 'cause I'm like, I am traveled out. I need to do some reevaluating, like, I love covering these races. Does the internet love me covering these races? I gotta go back and actually look at some analytics and see, like, all right, are the views there? Am I getting
Mhm.
out of it what I need to get out? I'm not sure, and so, um, it's like travel is expensive, and not
Mhm.
just because of the cost, like the literal cost. There's so many other things, and so that's something that I'm always, like, constantly trying to reevaluate is, like, what's worth it for me to leave my house and routine and schedule and family for, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, you do this more than me. I called my wife halfway through TRE and started referencing what trip week she was gonna go on a trip, and she's like, "Babe, it's next week." I'm like, "Yeah, in 2 weeks." And she's like, "This week." And I'm like, "I've lost track of days." Um,
Yeah.
whoops.
Yeah,
So big
I don't know what day it is anymore.
yeah, exactly. Well, what a weekend to remember. Track and field, cross country, marathoning, all the good stuff. And then yeah, one more big marathon. I'm hoping at CIM, we were biased towards the Northern California vibes, the tradition. So there was a little poo-pooing like the track meet on the road that's happening in 2 weeks. We're like, sure, sure, sure. But now that CIM is done and it's all baked, I'm hopeful that the marathon project will be awesome. And I'm rooting for a bunch of people I know who are headed there to jump on the train. So
Yeah,
should be good.
there's definitely some names that I'm following as well. Hopefully, I'll get some interviews out of it as to make things interesting, and then I guess, years shutting down, but then starts right back up again.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
got Disney Marathon, there's always a story that comes out of that. We got Houston Marathon.
We go
And
again.
before you know it, we'll be talking about Tokyo.
11 weeks. Let's count it down. Awesome, man. Thanks so much. Thanks for being here. If you have any questions, just comment on in Spotify. That's always easy, or, send us an email and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much.